Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to Sarah Bell of the International Council on Mining and Metals about ICMM's initiative regarding cleaner and safer vehicles. Sarah, can you give us an overview, please, on this innovation for cleaner and safer vehicles? What are its ambitions and why was it formed?
The innovation for cleaner, safer vehicles brings together our members at ICMM, which make up around 28 of the world's leading mining companies and 9 of the world's leading original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs, to collaborate in a safe space to accelerate the development of a new generation of mining vehicles and also to improve existing ones. So the initiative is CEO-led, and it has 3 specific ambitions that have been designed to address 3 of the most critical safety, health and environment performance issues within the sector. So the first one is about introducing greenhouse gas emission-free surface mining vehicles by 2040, or decarbonising the mining fleet, if you like, minimising the operational impact of diesel exhaust underground by 2025, and making vehicle collision avoidance technology available to mining companies by 2025. So if I just expand on those ambitions, the first one recognises that the mining industry is currently a large greenhouse gas emitter, and mining vehicles account for around 50% and sometimes up to 80% of Scope 1 emissions or direct greenhouse gas emissions on a mine site. So it's quite significant. The second ambition recognises that almost all underground mining equipment at the moment is serviced through diesel. And diesel particulate matter is also classified now as a carcinogen by the World Health Organization, and exposure to DPM emissions have been linked to negative health effects. I think what's most interesting about this second ambition is that there are many of the solutions already out there now to help reduce diesel particulate matter underground. And so this initiative is working to raise awareness and to promote the existing adoption of these technologies today, with the support, of course, with our OEM partners to ensure their successful implementation. And the last ambition recognises that within the ICMM membership, transport and mobile equipment accidents account for, on average, 30% annually of our fatalities. And we recognise also that technology is not a silver bullet. We also need to ensure that we invoke operating discipline as an absolute prerequisite.
And what is significant about this initiative? What is different to what the industry was doing previously?
I'll start with what is significant about the initiative. And I think there are 2 key things, Martin. Firstly, that this is CEO-led, and it's led through a co-chair governance structure from both participating mining companies and also the OEMs. And this demonstrates just how important this initiative is to ICMM's Council of 28 CEOs, and also helps, of course, to accelerate the pace of change when you have such leadership engaged in this change program. And the co-chair governance structure involves 3 of our mining company CEOs, which is chaired by Mike Henry from BHP. He's our most recent chair, actually, with the retirement of Nick Holland from Goldfields. And then we have 2 other mining company representatives, Mark Kudafani from Anglo American, and also Eduardo Bartholomew from Vale. And we then have 3 OEM CEOs and or executives from the OEM side, which is made up of Denise Johnson from Caterpillar, Max Yariyami from Komatsu, and Henrik Agar from Sandvik. And this is a really important group. They're providing the initiative with strategic guidance and advice. And even beyond that, they're tabling any recommendations and decisions that need to be taken back up to our broader group of 28 CEOs. And that's really critical for the OEMs to see this consistent and continual commitment for the change. The second thing that makes this initiative so significant is that it represents critical mass of the industry. The ICMM membership makes up around 1/3 of the sector, which accounts for about 650 assets in over 50 different countries globally. So this reinforces both the convening power of ICMM to help drive change and to promote what we're doing more broadly beyond our membership. But more importantly for the OEMs, it helps them to build widespread confidence that they need to accelerate the level of innovation investment to scale up these commercial solutions. They can see this real commitment from our CEOs, and that enables them, we're almost sending them market signals, if you like, Martin. So how it's different, I think, simply put, what we're trying to do here is to break down silos and to generate one voice. So for many years, the OEMs have been receiving mixed signals from mining companies. We'd like this solution, or we'd like this solution. And the reality is you can't be investing that amount of R&D into many different solutions that may or may not be used. And so this initiative provides a safe space for the OEMs and mining companies to work openly together to think about what is that, those areas where we may develop solutions and overcome those silos. And that ultimately helps the OEMs to direct, or better direct, their R&D efforts, because they're hearing this collective critical mass of what they want in the future. Another way that we break down the silos within the industry is by looking to either partner with or work really closely with other global initiatives out there. So for example, we have a technical partner in the Earth Moving Equipment Safety Roundtable, or EMERST, which is based in Australia, for our vehicle interaction group. And we also partner with a number of innovation organisations in Canada, CMIC, COSIA, GMG, who help us particularly with the GHG workstream, but also on the DPM workstream. So I think this reinforces what is also unique, Martin, about the initiative, that we're not focused on developing technical solutions, and we do remain technology agnostic because we are operating under antitrust rules here. Instead, what we look to do is set the change framework and drive that change and develop guiding principles to disrupt the status quo. And I think more importantly, within our collaboration model, we're convening the parties, we're motivating action, and then we promote the outcomes. So what we do there is look to collaborate with organisations that do have the mandate to develop and pilot technical solutions that will result in the ambitions being achieved. They are set up to, establish commercial and legal agreements in the way that ICMM is not right now.
And Sarah, what progress has been made so far?
Well, I've been a part of this initiative from the beginning now, which was launched in October 2018 by our CEOs. And so I think the best way to break down progress is over the first 3 years, or the first phase of the initiative. So in 2019, we focused on really bringing these groups together, building trust in the relationship. We established 3 working groups, one for each ambition set, and they focused on creating a common language to help understand the pathways towards those ambitions. They're such big ambitions, you can imagine that we needed to spend quite a lot of time getting people comfortable and aligning people on how they were going to achieve them. And then we spent a lot of time defining functional and technical requirements that the OEMs in particular needed us to align on to help them move forward. In 2020, we used the creation of that common language to form critical change tools for the industry, and they are now housed on our ICSB Knowledge Hub, which is on ICMM.com. And this helps to facilitate really critical knowledge sharing amongst the industry, and particularly beyond ICMM. We want everybody beyond the membership to take up these tools and to start a really critical dialogue with their leaders on how they can start to not only change, but transform their fleet towards cleaner, safer vehicles. And we also established a series of maturity frameworks, and these help mining companies, not just our members, all mining companies, to map their current and future state, motivate action, and then measure progress against the ambitions that have been published. And the intention here again is to help stimulate leadership conversations, hopefully build some decision-making abilities, and then drive real action. And then earlier this year, I think the most important progress that's been made in 2021 is that our members have taken these change tools, they've started the strategic leadership dialogues within their organisations, and they assessed where they currently were and where they want to be against these maturity frameworks. And this resulted in more than 300 vehicle fleets being assessed in over 300 assets across the membership in 5 regions globally. And this is really, really important because it became a visual aid for our CEOs or our council to see just how far we've got to go, and also reaffirms our commitment to the ambitions. And more importantly, as we move into the next phase, it helps to shape the next strategy cycle.
And what are the main challenges in reaching these ambitions?
Well, this is never easy. I think I'd start with the largest challenge, but I'd start there because it's also the most rewarding to respond to over the last 3 years. And that's been about building and maintaining trust with such a large group of stakeholders. And the initiative sets to manage this challenge by setting a leadership tone that genuinely embraces diversity as a clear way of building trust within the team. You know, Martin, that it's well known that working with people that are different to us challenge our thinking, and we need disruption here. And this enables innovation. So this will also allow us to hopefully have better outcomes. And we need this because when we cut through this initiative as a strategic process, we're ultimately here to save lives and contribute towards decarbonisation. So the sooner we can have more challenging conversations with each other and get aligned on what really needs to be done, the sooner we can achieve our ambitions. And I think that would lead me to my second challenge, in that it takes time to build sustainable ownership of the collaboration model. This initiative is now 2.5 years old. And this is tough because in the mining industry, we're very action orientated, right? We like to get on with things. And so we need to be comfortable in setting the problem, being really clear on the pathway there, providing the tools that we have done, and then allow the mining companies and the OEMs to get on with the action that they need to take. And I think just a couple of other points in terms of challenge. It's really clear that each mining company operates within various constraints, different jurisdictions, different budgets, different operational and capital constraints. And so we need to be really clear that we are setting and providing different options for the mining companies to take. If I give you a few examples more specifically of some of the challenges here, diesel machines are much cheaper to purchase but more expensive to operate compared to the currently available zero emissions alternatives. So the transition to cleaner underground engines in the mining industry doesn't only require innovation in the technology itself, it will also require innovation in the business models that are established. And so one example of that is around the Epiroc battery as a service model, which they're running, which helps mining companies to manage this CapEx versus OpEx dilemma that they're facing. Another example that I'd give you is around developing batteries at scale for surface fleet. We've seen a lot of interest. I think this is a really building story here, whether or not you are going down a pathway of battery electric or hydrogen fuel cells or trolley assist. We talk about all of those different options, Martin, and we talk about them because we recognise that we have different mining operations that will need all of those different solutions to work. And so we work together not only on the machine itself, but also ensuring that we are focused on the infrastructure or the enabling environment around the truck, which means, what do we mean by battery charging? How do we have flexible battery charging? And one example that's meeting that challenge externally to ICSV is an innovation called the Charge On initiative. It's a really exciting initiative, I think, and that looks to help understand the challenge of making sure that, you know, new, cleaner vehicles aren't just being developed, but they're also being developed in tandem with the supporting infrastructure at the same time. It's no use having a nice battery electric or hydrogen fuel cell truck ready to go, but the supporting infrastructure has not been ready. It makes it very difficult for the OEMs to get that or to develop that fleet at scale.
And Sarah, what have the key learnings been so far?
So far, yeah, that's a very good way to put it. I think the first one is to create a safe space for dialogue. We're really clear on our boundaries. You know, I've said it before, we convene, we motivate, and we promote the outcomes. And we do this by operating in an antitrust environment. That means that we need to remain technology agnostic. And you can imagine that that's a challenge. You know, you've got a group of technical mining experts that want to get into that detail, and we can, but only to a certain point. So we need to be able to kind of provide a convening space where they might come together in another way to talk about those things. They can at least meet each other through this initiative and then go off and have other more detailed commercial or legal conversations if they'd like to. The second key learning is that communication is key. We need to be able to pitch key messages at different decision-making levels, whether that's CEOs, site management, or the technical practitioners on the ground. The same message needs to cut through in different ways. I think another critical one would be to spend time on the problem. Get comfortable staying with the problem that you're trying to solve, and be really clear on how your initiative, like the ICSV initiative, differs from other ones out there. And that's really important, again, because there are many of these initiatives out there and they're all really important. Again, the OEMs do tell us we need to be really clear on how these different initiatives talk to each other. Otherwise, we're going to potentially get back to this point where the OEMs are saying, you're not coordinated, what's going on, so please give us that steer. And that's what we work really hard on doing. I think another learning for us is that the details matter. It's great that we've got these ambitions set in the public. It's even more important that we've got a strategic roadmap to get there. The most critical thing is to have some sort of practical, tangible actions along the way. We're staging gates, if you like. They're really important so our participants can see that we're making progress along the way. This is a really long-term ambitions, and we need to keep people motivated. And I think the last one, Martin, that we've learned so far is be really clear on the roles within your governance structure if you're setting up a supply chain collaboration like this one. And I think we need more of them to solve other industry challenges. This is only one of many that are needed, I think. And so I think just being really clear on how your governance structure enables your ambitions to be achieved is so critical. And for us, that is our CEO co-chair structure that we hold with the OEMs. The OEMs know that everything we do, every decision to be taken is first discussed with them and shared with them before we take it to the CEOs. And that's a really critical learning for us, and I would say for any other initiative that wants to get out there to solve any other collaborative supply chain challenge.
And finally, Sarah, what's next?
Right, so we've had our first 3 years. We're in the last year of our 3-year strategy cycle now, and we're currently developing our next one with our Council of CEOs. And what's really great to hear is that the initiative remains strategically significant for our CEOs, so it will continue. So that's really good news. And I think just reflecting, Martin, on the first phase of the initiative, which has focused on building awareness, it's also built these 3 critical foundations for what we do next. Firstly, we've built trust in the collaboration, we've reached alignment on the pathways forward, and more recently now we've created this aggregated industry-first view of our members' current and future state positions for over 300 assets to help them achieve the ambitions set. These were presented to our Council of CEOs in May, and they helped motivate further action, and they more importantly helped to shape the next phase of these initiatives. So now that we've got these foundations in place, we've started to develop the next phase, which will start in 2022. And this means for us that the ICSV initiative now needs to shift its focus from building awareness and trust to getting on with adoption readiness and implementation. Easier said than done. But in practice, what this means for us is that we need to enhance our collaboration model to engage an even more diverse range of innovators, particularly the original technology integrators. These are the companies that will help us better understand what the infrastructure requirements look like around the machine, for example. And we need more people because they will continue to strategically challenge our thinking. We need to keep this disruption going and enable our shifting focus from what has been more awareness building to taking action. And I think to fully enable the ambitions to be met, we need to focus beyond the machine while simultaneously supporting the planning for mine site design and infrastructure to help operations deploy this new technology. We've more recently been spending a lot of time on even some of the software initiatives that are out there that will help life of mine planners start to take more strategic action on what they might be thinking about as they start to implement and adopt cleaner, safe vehicles. And I think two final points to finish, Martin. This initiative has definitely resulted in a really significant and positive shift in sentiment, collective sentiment, and that's really important, again, for the OEMs. We know that these ambitions can be met by sparking leadership dialogue and that they will result in subsequent change. And I think beyond the ICSV initiative, there does remain more work to do more broadly, even beyond this ICSV initiative, to help industry transform. So just reflect by saying that we would see the initiative as a blueprint to help accelerate other disruptive and innovative partnerships that the mining sector may have and will need to tackle along the supply chain.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Sarah Bell, the ICMM's Director of Health, Safety and Product Stewardship.